Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing I'm going to ask for is agenda changes.
Mr. Mayor, under section H of the agenda for the two executive sessions, since those are attorney-client privilege and Mr. Jantz couldn't be here this evening, we will remove those. But we'll ask that an executive session for non-elected personnel be added to the agenda.
Okay. Next, I'll open up for public forum. Is there anybody here wishing to address the council? Under public forum?
Probably not public forum.
What issue would you like to speak on, sir?
I'm Jeremy Schrog. I'm an attorney for Azzy Reckis. I've been trying to get a hold of Brad Jantz for a couple weeks about that distressed property and was unsuccessful in doing so.
That will fall under our unfinished business, item 1. So, since we have nobody here to address this under public forum, I'm gonna go ahead and close that now. And, go ahead and open the public hearing for the revenue neutral rate. We're planning on exceeding the revenue neutral rate with our budget this year. Does anybody want to address the council regarding that? Seeing no movement, I would ask for the approval of exceeding the revenue neutral rate, and we will have to do a roll call vote on this per state statute, council, and Julie can record that, so I need a motion and a second before we can get started.
Mr. Mayor, I move a resolution, City of Halstead, Kansas, to levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pass the resolution for exceeding the revenue neutral rate. We'll begin our roll call vote, and I'll start with you, Councilman Lanahan. Are you in favor or not?
Yes.
Councilman Homewood?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
And Clausen?
Yes.
Let it be in the record that that has passed unanimously with the present council. So I will go ahead and close the public hearing for the revenue neutral rate. Now we will open the public hearing for the proposed 2024 budget. Do you have anything that you would like to bring up at this time, Ethan?
No, I think we've talked about it quite a bit. Sets the no changes from the last conversations we had about the budget, so.
So there is nobody in the gallery of the council room that wants to address the public hearing portion for the proposed 2024 budget. So council, I guess I would accept a motion to adopt it.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to adopt the proposed 2024 budget as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the 2024 budget as it was submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The budget stands as approved. Now I would ask for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if there are no questions or discussion on that, I would also make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda will stand as approved. Now we'll move to unfinished business, and the first item under unfinished business is a distressed property at 126 East 3rd Street. Now you may come to the podium, let us know your name and what you'd like to tell us on behalf of this property.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Jeremy Schrog. I'm an attorney. I live in Newton. Office in Wichita. Firm's called Lewis Brisbois. It's one of the firms you've never heard of. But anyway, Azzy Reckis is a client of ours, client of mine, and I worked with him for a while on various things, including the tax rates of the hospital and stuff about a decade ago. He asked me to get involved here recently on the distrust property. I think it's Townsman Inn, if I have that correct. And like I mentioned, I'm trying to get a hold of Brad. I understand he's a busy man and we weren't able to connect. And I know that there was, I think, a deadline of September 11 today to make the repairs that this council feels are necessary or proceed with demolition. I would tell you that my client is open of a transfer of that property to the city, so long as that property is designated for public use. You can imagine that he has some concerns about selling it to the city only to have that property, or even donating it to the city, only to have that property then sold to someone who might be a competitor, given his other properties that he has in town. But if there would be some consideration that it would be held for public use, whether it's an expansion of the library or a park or whatever, he's willing to do that. I think we can make that happen. So that would be the message that I'm authorized to come and deliver to you, and say that I think that's something we can happen. The other thing that I would want to know if I was in your shoes on this is the Townsman Inn. I think if you were to pull it up today it is to the Register of Deeds, it's owned by Azrael and Paula in their individual names. That is no longer true. It's now, all their ownership interest has been sent to a LLC, that the only asset, of course, is that property itself. So if it's demolished, then the LLC's only asset is demolished. And so I would hope you guys wouldn't be in a situation where you're throwing good money after bad. So that's kind of what I have to report. I don't know how you do this, if you entertain questions. I'm used to negotiating with attorneys off the books, but I couldn't get a hold of Brad, and so I felt like I had no other option other than to come here and let you know what my client's willing to do.
Ethan, would you like to weigh in on where we are currently?
As was pointed out by Mr. Rickes' counsel, the last resolution the council passed, which was 2023-07, set September 11th as the date for either remediation of the issues to be undertaken or for the structure to be demolished. Obviously, the structure is still standing. We have noted we have not, despite repeated requests, been given voluntary permission to ever have an environmental inspection. If the building is going to be raised as a commercial property in the state of Kansas, it has to have an asbestos inspection. It's one of the reasons we couldn't get any actual good or solid bids on demolition, because everyone asks that question, which we don't know the answer to. So at this point, if the council is moving forward, and hopefully some of you remember from discussions we've had with City Attorney Jantz, we would probably be looking at taking legal action to get access to the interior of the property to have that happen. Obviously, you have other things to consider too, that Mr. Rickes is bringing forward, and that would be up to the will of this body of whether you're willing to entertain that or wanting to move forward. And
Council, would you like me to speak on this?
Well, I have a question first, and I think this is gonna be telling. What was the date that that property was transferred to an LLC?
It was this month.
It was this month, September 1st? Would you say September 1st?
I wouldn't say September 1st, but it was,
So
Okay,
it was after Labor Day?
I think so, yes.
okay. I think that will be a pertinent.
I think I have a couple of key points I'd like to make here. The first one being is if the city did take ownership of the property, then we would be assuming the financial liability of that property. And if we were to do that, there would be no conditional provisions put on that for us. In other words, if we're going to relieve him of that financial responsibility, we're going to relieve him of every responsibility of it, and we won't be told what to do with the property. Secondly, you said he didn't want us to use it for any competitive purpose. Just exactly what business does he have that's operating in town? Because I'd be curious to know that. It's this body's belief that he doesn't want to work with us, and we need to get rid of the blight in our city. Have I said that clear enough, council?
Clear.
Yes.
So that's a message you can take back to Mr. Rekis. And if nobody has anything else to add, we can move on the agenda. Council,
Yes.
anything else to add?
I think, just as you have discussion with Mr. Jantz, we'll want to, I believe this transfer of the data to an LLC 1st of September might, I don't think it's going to have any, issue on what we do. But I think it's just a move on him trying to protect that property in a manner that, isn't going to go, so.
And I guess just for clarification, I assume from the mayor's position, then the direction to the city attorney would be to move forward to get access to the property?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so that's our next request is that environmental inspection. I would imagine that he's gonna deny that, so I guess this probably won't be the last time we'll see you.
Yeah.
All righty, well, let's move on our agenda.
Thanks, sir.
The next item
I
is,
think he has a question.
go ahead.
One thing, can I just add one thing? I would just say that sometimes things are a little different when you're working with council than when you're negotiating directly. And I resolve a lot of situations, a lot of times more complicated, with more finances at stake than this one. So don't have your history, right, on these negotiations. And so partly of that, I don't share your pessimism. But
How long have you worked with Mr. Rakis?
I've
Had an
worked
association with him?
on and off, worked with him for several years back when the hospital thing was going through. And we were able to get a resolution there with the county eventually as to the tax rates and the valuation of those things. And then that was really about it until recently.
Okay.
So, but I will, just for the council's approval, speak with him about the environmental access and wanting to the asbestos. Is there anything else other than asbestos that needs to be looked at in terms of permitting?
Asbestos and mold, basically any environmental concerns present with the property.
Is there any way you can get a hold of him tonight and see if he can allow access so we can get on with it?
He's in Israel, which is about 9 hours ahead of us, so it's the middle of the night.
Well, it's been his history that he hasn't complied with our timelines at all, so, I would say us negotiating with him is probably at a point where we're finished. So whatever we're gonna have to do with binding legal action, that's the course that we're going to take. So. Okay, council, we have an ordinance number 2023-AP-17. Is that calling out a specific check, Ethan?
Oh, no, actually, you're on F2, the city code chapter 8 updates. That was part of the consent
Oh,
agenda.
yeah, you're right. City Code Chapter 8 updates, ordinances number 1332 through 1335.
Thank you. As council saw, the final drafts were in the packet this time for those 4 sections of, basically our health and welfare section of city code. As City Attorney Jantz, mentioned, it basically designates that the police department, can serve in the stead of the public officer position. It does not exclusively mandate that, though, so the city still has the option at some time in the future, if, council would direct, for a code enforcement officer position or something to be created, we still have the option to do that. So that's the big change that is in all those sections, is just noting that the police department and personnel working for the police department can serve in the role of the public officer position for complaints on any of those sections of code. And then the other part that Brad mentioned is it takes out the public hearing aspect of if people, want to come to the council basically to plead their case. It instead directs that those actions will be handled through municipal court. That's not to say they can't request a hearing with the police department or the code enforcement officer themselves. It just would remove coming to a formal council meeting and making a formal request on any of those citations that might be issued, so. And we left, the highlighted sections were the changes from existing code to the new code, so, as far as what was included in the packet.
Well, it wasn't enjoyable reading. It was reading. And that's about it.
Cured some insomnia.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna start making motions, so if anybody's got any questions or comments to make regarding these, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve ordinance number 1332, an ordinance revising chapter 13,
No,
no,
that's
8, chapter 8, article 2 of Halstead City Code.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to, accept ordinance number 1332. All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. That ordinance carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'll also make a motion to approve ordinance number 1333, an ordinance revising chapter 8, article 2A of the Halstead City Code.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to revise chapter, well, it'd be ordinance number 1333, chapter 8. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That carries.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve ordinance number 1334, an ordinance revising chapter 8, article 3 of the Halstead City Code.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to revise ordinance number 1334. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
And with that, Mr. Mayor, a motion to approve ordinance number 1335, an ordinance revising chapter 8, article 4 of the Halstead City Code.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to revise ordinance number 1335. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Nice to get those updates finished. Well, that's going to carry us into our new business portion of our agenda tonight. And the first item up is Parks and Rec Public Works Equipment Purchase. And Mr. Williams is here to address us this evening.
Hello, council. Thanks for allowing me to appear before you tonight. It's listed as a Parks and Recreation Public Works Equipment Purchase. I know you had information in your packet on 2 bids that we had received. A little background, just the general topic is a clean sweep rotary broom attachment for the front of a grasshopper mower and a turbine blower for the front of the mower. My main use for Parks and Rec on this would be on the blower side. As you know, we take care of the working team path in addition to other sidewalks around the parks and park area. About 8 years ago, we bought an edger attachment for the grasshopper mowers, which is great. It cuts down that edging time because I used to walk edge that thing, which is 1.7 miles one way and 1.7 back the other. What this blower is allowing us to do is to address the grass that's blowing up onto there. It's a great walking area. It gets used a ton. I know some of you are regulars up there, as am I. These would attach to the front of existing lawnmowers that we already have. I think it's the 900 series mower, Pat, am I right? That these would go on the front of, much like the snow blower or the regular mowing decks. These are just for the attachments that go on the front. I can speak more to the blower usage than the rotary broom, but it would help in cleaning up smaller areas. The reason the Grasshopper Company dealer was used is, as I mentioned, we already own a fleet of Grasshopper mowers that these would be used with. It would also allow us to clean off the parking lots that we have around the pool, especially when Old Settlers time comes along. We try to get those as clean as we possibly can, and fence lines and things of that nature. So personally, it would be a huge step up for me carrying 2 blowers in my hand as I walk the levee, trying to get that path clean. So there's a little selfishness involved in or self-preservation involved in my request as well, especially on the turbine side. So this would come out of the equipment fund, and Ethan, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have already provided the funding for. But it was a big enough item that we thought it needed to appear in front of you all as a group, just to let you know what we were doing or what we hope to do.
Sounds like just in labor alone, it'd pay for itself pretty quickly.
Right.
I'd agree.
Looks like a couple of neat, good pieces of equipment.
Can they be transferred to like a newer fleet once you,
We have two Series 900 mowers, correct? Now, and that is the basic size that we operate most of our things with. We have one, a little smaller mower that I use, the mid deck around some of the ballpark areas where things aren't 7 feet apart where we have to squeeze in with. But yeah, Grasshopper is pretty good at interchanging parts as far as new mowers coming in. Are pretty well equipped to handle any existing, as far as I've run into. Any existing
If we wound
parts.
up replacing one of these
Right.
mowers, it would be able to use.
Bolt right up.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they look like a couple of pretty nice pieces of equipment. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the purchase of a rotary clean sweep broom attachment and a turbine blower mower attachment from J&M Ag Services for an amount not to exceed $13,000 and authorization for staff to sign any necessary documents to facilitate this purchase.
We have a motion and a second to approve these Grasshopper attachments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Congratulations, Grant.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Do you have anything else?
No,
Okay,
not this time.
all right.
Now you can carry 2 weed eaters in your hands. Next item under new business is the wastewater treatment plant evaluation agreement, and we will go back to Ethan on that.
Thank you. In the packet was a proposal from Schwab Eaton to basically take the lead on continuing the process of looking at the wastewater treatment plant evaluation. As you all know, we were with MKC, went through a couple rounds of evaluation. MKC, the lead project engineer is no longer with them. They've not been responsive to pick up that project and move us kind of into the next phase, which is actually identifying of the 3 options they kind of threw at us at the end of their last report, which one would be the best potential use of funds or the problems we're looking into. And then also getting us geared up to like go to the state to request funding for any upgrades or facilities changes that we would need to make. Schwab Eaton is willing to work, as you see there, off certain aspects of the MKEC report, so they're not having to recreate all of that work, but they would obviously want to update. The big thing I like, though, is they're actually going to, bring forward and give you an option of the 3 options that are shown of what they believe. From looking at it, you can tell from their engagement letter, they're already kind of leaning towards an option, just based on their preliminary review of it, but they will do an in-depth analysis, and provide that information, as well as why, maybe an SBR process isn't as good for us to pursue as an aero mod. And then the big thing from a staff perspective, is moving us forward as far as looking at financing options for whatever eventual option we would decide. We would like to get moving on this because the state opens up those funding requests typically in the late spring, and we're already 2 years behind when we anticipated we'd hopefully be in front of the state looking at these options. And just for full disclosure, at some point, when we get some of this information back and kind of have a more idea of where we're going, we'd also start to engage a financial advisor to dial in, those rate review studies that you guys all saw. Those were obviously done off of giant numbers. Part of this would be for each of those options, instead of getting a range, they're actually going to start to do like a preliminary site plan and get that down so you have a better estimate, not necessarily a $2 million window of what upgrades might cost. So
Schwab, they're quite a bit smaller, aren't they, than MKC?
I don't know as far as staffing size. They do, they have offices in Manhattan, Wichita, but yeah, I think MKC is probably a larger firm overall, but I couldn't tell you that.
Overall, but if you break it down by division, they're probably just as big.
Yeah, Schwab's full service.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
they can do that. And one of the things we liked about Schwab, one, we worked with them all when the Recreation Commission originally did like the levee side of Riverside Park, trying to get, we worked with Schwab Eaton and some of their project engineers and landscape architects on trying to design a ballpark plan, and we really liked how responsive they were and how much they were letting us know where they were at in the process. And then had some recommendations from some other smaller sized cities. Like for instance, Schwab is helping the city of Bentley with their lagoon project. So they're familiar with smaller municipalities and the wastewater requirements that we have, so.
Well, we need to be moving forward on this, so if there's no discussion or questions, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the proposal from Schwab Eaton for the wastewater treatment plant, engineering evaluations and recommendations for action for the amount not to exceed $17,000, and authorization for staff to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Schwab Eaton agreement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that carries. Next up is the Pathways Grant Project. We got a consultant agreement, and Ethan will update us there.
In the packet was the agreement with H.W. Lochner for their work related to that 6th Street sidewalk improvement, which is funded by the Pathways grant that we are putting in for. We're asking for a project amount there of $25,000. Again, just to relate that back to the project, that $25,000 should basically be what the city would be required to match. The remaining funds would come from the Pathways grant, and that's estimated that run of sidewalk from Cedar Drive towards Halstead Road on the south side of 6th Street, which would serve the Housing Authority and Homestead, would be about $110,000. We wanted to go with Lochner so they could hopefully compile and just get us some synergy with the ongoing Safe Routes to School project that Lochner is engaged in. We did also get some good news from the Healthy Harvey Coalition. It looks like there'll actually be, I want to say about $10,000 more than that original $85,000 that could go towards this project. So that actually has the potential to make our match go down.
Yeah, great.
Nice.
With that, Mr. Mayor, if there's no questions, I'd make a motion to approve the consultant agreement with Lochner for the 6th Street sidewalk improvement project for an amount not to exceed $25,000 and authorization for staff to sign documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this agreement with Lochner. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That carries. Next up, we have Resolution 2023-14, distressed property at 522 Locust.
Thank you. You have basically an inspector report, which came from myself as the city manager and zoning administrator regarding 522 Locust, which is the non-skirted mobile home there. And then the resolution setting a show cause hearing for that property. We were in contact, but the property owner has missed several dates for taking action on that property to get it remediated. So unfortunately, we feel like this is what we need to do to hopefully get that property dealt with. So this would set the show cause hearing for October 23rd. And again, that complies with state statute concerning how many days have to pass and city code between the resolution gets published twice and then we can't have it before 30 days. So, and that, yeah, the letter kind of sits out looking at the history of it. We have concerns with it being a pre-HUD code mobile home, and there were apparently issues the city was looking at way back as far as like 2006 that I'm pretty sure probably those repairs weren't made at that time, so. Yeah.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-14, a resolution establishing time and date for a show of hearing for the property at 522 Locust Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2023-14. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That resolution carries. Last item under new business, common consumption area.
Thank you. And I won't have much to update. Brad was supposed to be looking into it. I guess one thing that kind of came up as we've gone through the state requirements, and that's what I was hoping City Attorney Jantz would be here to answer this question specifically, is the city, you're required to sign the common consumption permit area. And I guess for the giant swaths of ground we were talking, like if you did Main Street, the question that we were trying to get answered is, can those signs go up only when you're having a common consumption event? Or do those common consumption signs have to stay up year round because that is, and that I figured might change what maybe perhaps the council wanted to look at as far as, because if you have a year-round sign, say at the corner of Fourth and Main, that's gonna be like a U-turn sign, that says, hey, you're now entering a common consumption area, even though we know there's only maybe 6 events that happen a year where you'd actually want to have a common consumption type activity. I just would understand if that gave anyone pause of, yeah, I mean, there's other ways for us to look at allowing for alcohol or CMB consumption beyond a common consumption. I still think common consumption is probably one of the better tools. But yeah, again, I was hoping the city attorney would be here tonight to tell us definitively whether that was year-round signing or when the event happens, you can basically put signs up just as you would the barricades to say, this is the area. So,
we'll just table this until Mr. Jantz is able to be back.
yep.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to table this item until next council meeting when Mr. Jantz is able to join us.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table the common consumption area discussion to the next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That will be tabled to the next meeting. We do have one executive session, non-elected personnel on our agenda this evening. I would entertain the motion for that now.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I move that the Halstead City Council recess into executive session to discuss performance of a city employee and maintain privacy rights pursuant to the personnel matters of non-elected personnel, exception KSA 754319B1. And ask that in addition to the governing body, the following persons join the governing body in executive session: the city manager, the open meeting and governing body to reconvene in the city council chambers at 7:30 PM. I'm sorry, 7:50. Sorry,
Second. I'll second that.
bifocals.
We have a motion and a second to enter into executive session until 7:50 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in executive session. We'll move to back conference room, council. We are back from our executive session. Is there any action to be taken as a result of? Hearing nothing from the council, we'll move on to the next section of our agenda. That's the report section. Start with governing body comments tonight, and tonight I'll start with you, Derek.
I just enjoyed the rain today. Hope everyone's getting ready for the season to change. So that's all.
Josh.
I don't have anything, thanks.
No, sir, I have nothing.
Denise.
Got nothing except it was great to drive in some rain for once.
Well, the only thing I'll add is that I was fortunate enough that I gained a granddaughter over the weekend. Her name is Aubrey Lynn, so I got somebody else in my life I can spoil. With that, I'll turn it over to Ethan for his city manager report.
Thank you. Second here. Jeez. Ooh.
Did somebody mute Ethan?
No. Oh. Opened everything but the manager's report. As far as project updates, we did have that Ninth and Walnut walk through, created that punch list for them to finalize that. I believe we're still waiting on verification on some of those items. As far as finishing out the Ninth and Walnut reconstruction project. And then we are pretty much done, I believe, with the majority of concrete work on the Main Street and Stutzman extensions. So looking forward to hopefully getting those closer and closer. Should definitely meet our October 15th deadline for that project. And other than that, if you haven't registered and still want to attend the league conference, there's still time to register you. Let Julie and I know, and we'll get you registered. I believe Denise is going this year, so thank you, Denise, for signing up for that. The library has finished their seed project for the seed grant, so hopefully we'll be able to finalize out that seed grant. And I just want to thank all the residents who have responded to requests for letters of support for the KDOT cost share grant. We're currently working on that application and are working with those residents to get those letters of support, and got the engineer estimates in today. So that will be our upcoming goal for staff, is getting that submitted before the next city council meeting for that project. So hopefully we'll have some good news to share regarding North Street in the near future.
Well, I do have a question. Actually, several citizens, I've had about 4 ask me this question. I know it's on the list. When are we getting our 4-way stop at 10th and Main? I've had so many people, I've had people stop at my front yard asking about that. They're concerned about the stop sign.
I believe we've ordered the stop signs, or they may be already in. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Oh,
Pat.
yeah, everything's here, just waiting on boats to finish, get part of the project farther along.
Sure.
And then before they open up, they're about ready to start working on signing it.
But I had to laugh, and I had fun with it. Yeah, they were concerned about the stop sign down there.
But I'm glad you brought that up, George. I will remind people that technically Stutzman Court and Main Street are still closed
Yes.
to traffic, and I know that it can be easy to push and or drive around those barricades at time, but those are mostly set up for the convenience of the contractor working on that house right now. And I'm glad everyone's excited and wants to check out the new road. Just ask them to please be very cognizant that technically those roads are still closed right now.
Thank you.
So,
Anybody have any other questions regarding Ethan's report? Anything anybody else would like to add this evening? Well, since we've finished our business for this evening, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.